Hello and welcome back, folks. It's time for another head-to-head, and today's matchup is a proper one. In the green corner, fresh out of the box, we've got the newly released Timex Deepwater GMT diver, and in the blue corner, a watch that needs no introduction round these parts. One of my all-time favorite Seikos, the SSK GMT, cheekily nicknamed the Blueberry by the community, presumably by someone who took one look at that dial and got hungry. Two affordable GMT dive watches, both sitting under the $500 mark, and both coming from genuine legends of horology. And let's talk about Timex for a second, because they're absolutely having a moment right now. It feels like there's barely been a week this year without a new launch landing, and what's impressive isn't just the pace, it's that the pricing stays reasonable, the discounts keep coming, and the quality and style are genuinely resonating with collectors like me. This is actually my second Timex, the first being the Waterbury Chrono, and I'll drop a link to that review at the end if you haven't seen it. Safe to say I'm properly invested in exploring this brand further. Now, my Seiko journey is already well documented on this channel, so it won't shock anyone to hear I'm a Seiko addict. Which means this review isn't coming from behind a reviewer's desk, it's coming from an owner and a collector who's genuinely put both watches through their paces. And it's a long one today, folks, there's a lot to unpack. So let's get the specifications out of the way first, and then I'll get into what I love and what I don't about each of these two cracking watches. Before we get stuck into the numbers, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. If you're liking this video, give it a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm pushes it out to more watch nerds. And come and find me on Instagram, I'll leave a link in the comments below. Now let's start with the newcomer. The Timex comes in at 42mm across, with a case height of 14.5mm and a lug-to-lug of 48.8mm. And on the wrist, that's a watch that wears with a bit of presence, helped along by a 5-link stainless steel Jubilee bracelet with a lug width of 20mm. All in, it tips the scales at 154 grams when sized for my 7.5-inch wrist, so there's a reassuring bit of heft to it without it feeling too heavy. Now, onto the practical side of things. This one will set you back £475 here in the UK, and for that money, you're getting a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, which the Seiko does not have. Water resistance comes in at 200 meters, backed up by a screw-down crown and a screw-on case back, so it's properly built to get wet. And if you buy this watch from Timex in the UK, the 1-year international warranty is extended to 2 years. So when you factor in the inevitable discounts on the list price, it makes sense to buy direct, in my opinion. And finally, let's talk about the movement, because Timex have simply called it a 21 dual automatic, and they don't even state a power reserve figure. Honestly, I think that's a bit of a miss on their part, because people want to know what's ticking away under the hood. A bit of digging around online seems to suggest they're using a Miyota 8 series movement, though nothing's been officially confirmed. Come on, Timex, just be honest about what you're using, for heaven's sake. In any case, this is a Caller GMT and not a Traveler GMT movement, which is about right for this price point. And now, the watch that's been in my collection for the best part of a year, the Seiko SSK Blueberry. This one measures 42.5mm in diameter, so just a touch larger than the Timex, with a case thickness of 13.6mm, actually slimmer than its rival, and a lug-to-lug of 46mm, which is noticeably more compact. Powering it all is Seiko's own workhorse caliber, the 4R34, an automatic movement with 24 joules and a power reserve of around 41 hours. I absolutely love this movement because it's reliable, buttery smooth, and if regulated properly can be far more accurate than Seiko will have you believe. On the money side, it comes in at £420, so £55 cheaper than the Timex straight out of the gate. Water resistance sits at 100 meters, so half of what the Deepwater Meridian offers, and that's worth bearing in mind if diving's actually part of your plans. It does hit back with a see-through case back though, letting that 4R34 show off a little. And on warranty, Seiko currently offer 3 years on UK purchases, a full year more than Timex manage. Definitely something to weigh up when we get to the value conversation later on. Another area where the Seiko is let down, in my opinion, is the glass. Seiko are still dishing out hardlex crystals like it's 1996, and the Timex comes with a more up-to-date and desirable sapphire crystal. This alone would be a good enough reason to pay the extra for the Timex if you're sitting on the fence. Food for thought, right? Let's talk about that dial because there's a lot going on here. Beyond the obvious color difference, the Timex has a genuinely crisp execution. It's legible, it's clear, and there's something wonderfully familiar about the whole layout. And I say familiar in a good way because after spending a full day on the wrist, something kept nagging at me. It took a while to place it, but then it clicked. This dial has a close resemblance to another Seiko in my own collection, the 1968 Heritage GMT in marine green. Applied markers with polished surrounds give it a real touch of class against that green dial. And it's not a coincidence that my mind went straight there. Now those markers are filled with lume, which we'll dig into properly a little later in the review. But here's the thing worth pointing out now, they're not a flat white like you'd expect. There's a subtle green tint running through them and it works beautifully against that green dial. Somebody at the design table really thought this one through. And then there's the touch of red on the Deepwater logo and on that GMT hand, giving the whole dial the pop we all love to see. Honestly, it's a lovely thing to just sit and look at. I know the Cyclops date window won't be to everyone's taste and I get that, but personally I don't mind it one bit. My tired eyes can use all the help they can get these days. The magnification applied is genuinely useful to me. So in summary, this is a genuinely impressive dial and now I have two really nice green GMT dive watches in my collection. Maybe I should have got the black dial Timex instead, but that would never have popped on camera like this one. Time to flip over to the Seiko because this dial tells a completely different story. Those big, bold, uniquely shaped markers are instantly recognizable as an SSK, especially at the 6, 9 and 12 o'clock positions. There's no mistaking this dial for anything else on the market. The blue sunburst might not hit quite as hard as the sunburst effect on the Timex, but it's there, and it does exactly what a good sunburst dial should. It puts a smile on your face throughout the day, catching the light differently every time you glance down. And then those red accents on the GMT hand and the red lettering on the dial, they really pop against that blue background. That's the contrast that makes this watch such a fan favorite, and it's easy to see why. The lume application feels a touch more industrial on the Seiko too, with big dollops of lume sitting right on top of the markers rather than tucked inside them. That's very much a hallmark of the Seiko 5 Sports range, and it gives the dial a bit of character. And finally, that hand stack is uniquely Seiko, and it feels properly retro with the big bold arrow style hands. It's exactly what the DNA of this watch demands. Now when it comes to overall dial execution, I think the Timex just edges it, feeling that little bit more polished and refined next to the Seiko. But make no mistake, both of these are excellent and either one would keep an owner very happy at this price point. Now let's talk bezels because this is another area where the two watches take completely different approaches. The Timex comes with a green and black ceramic bezel, and honestly it's going to draw comparisons to the Rolex GMT Master 2 Sprite the moment anyone claps eyes on it. There's no getting away from that one, and in use it's a lovely thing to turn. The Timex bezel is bi-directional, it's well aligned and it feels great on rotation, with a satisfying click at every single point. Now flip over to the Blueberry and it's a totally different experience. The bezel insert here is made from hardlex glass rather than ceramic, and it's got this lovely dark and light blue mix running through it. That lighter blue only really shows itself under certain lighting conditions, almost like a little show and tell moment every time the light catches it right. But here's the key difference, the Blueberry bezel operates on a friction fit mechanism, which means there's no clicking at all, just a smooth rotation in either direction. Some people love that tactile silence, others miss the reassurance of a proper click, and that's very much a personal preference thing. Once again though, on raw specs it's the Timex that wins out, and that's another reason to add to the box for why its price tag sits a little higher. Now let's move on to case finishing because this is where the details really start to separate these two watches. My honest take on the Timex is that it feels more refined and better finished for what a 2026 watch buyer actually expects. The polishing and brushing across the case are noticeably more refined, and the transitions between those two finishes are crisp, properly crisp. You can run a fingernail across them and feel exactly where one finish ends and the other begins. It's another win here for the Timex. The Seiko, on the other hand, isn't bad by any means, but it's nothing special. It leans on that unique case shape to draw you in, rather than the quality of the polishing or brushing doing the heavy lifting. And it's worth flagging, this particular Seiko isn't fresh out of the box. It's been on rotation for a while now, so there are a few micro scratches here and there that wouldn't be present on a brand new example. Let's move on to bracelets, and this is a section with a genuine twist in it. Timex have gone for a Jubilee style bracelet on this watch, paired with a butterfly clasp. It's also got a quick release system built in, which makes strap changes properly easy, no tools, no fuss. Now here's the surprising bit, the quality of this bracelet actually isn't as good as the Seiko's. I honestly can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but there it is. The links feel a touch lighter and looser in the hand. Though credit where it's due, it's better finished and it's still comfortable on the wrist. And I could genuinely live with all of that if it weren't for the butterfly clasp. Why would you put that on a serious dive watch? For me, that's the big drawback here, and even though I've managed to get a comfortable fit on my 7.5-inch wrist, it wouldn't be my preferred option long term. Now you might have spotted a green tropical FKM rubber strap in some of the earlier clips in this review, and that's because I've actually worn this watch on that strap for most of the time I've had it. I am sure other strap options will work with this watch, but for me it's been the rubber strap. Now, even though I've just said the Seiko bracelet is the better of the two, I still don't really love it, if I'm honest. And that's exactly why you'll have seen me swap it out for a Strapcode N-Mill bracelet. There's a full review of that upgrade over on the channel if you want to see it in action. In its standard form though, this is your typical Seiko 5 Sports setup, featuring the obligatory stamped clasp. Thankfully, there are no hollow end links here, which is a small but welcome detail. It also comes with 4 micro adjust holes, so dialing in a better fit is considerably easier than it is on the Timex. And if you do want to upgrade, fitting an aftermarket bracelet designed specifically for this watch is fairly straightforward thanks to all the options available. So in summary, my preference for both these watches is to go aftermarket. Now, let's talk Lume, because this is genuinely one of my favorite things to shoot for in a review. When it comes to any Lume comparison against a Seiko, most watches have a hard time keeping up. Seiko's proprietary Lume Bright is a consistently strong performer. It shines bright on that initial charge, and it holds through the night for legibility even when you're half asleep reaching for your glasses. The SSK in particular is the best performer in my Seiko collection thanks to the real estate on offer. Now, I'll be honest, I came into this with pretty low expectations for the Timex, but I've genuinely been proven wrong here. The low light performance on both these watches is equally good, and when the lights go off, both of them throw out a really bright glow on that initial charge. The Timex easily holds through the night, and I have had no issue telling the time half asleep. So on this one, it's still a win for Seiko, but only because it just has more lumed surface area for a bigger and brighter glow. So if you're a Lume junkie like me, you won't be disappointed with the Timex or the Seiko. When I first decided I wanted to do this comparison, and I clicked buy on the Timex, I had a feeling this one was going to be close. But if I'm honest, I thought the Blueberry would win out in the end. There was always going to be a bit of Seiko bias creeping in somewhere. Because, well, I did warn you at the start, I'm a Seiko addict. It's basically in the job title at this point. Now the Timex might be a little more expensive, but it backs that up with the quality of the finishing, the dial execution, the Lume performance, the water resistance, and that crystal. There's still room for improvement on the bracelet choice, and a bit of clarity wouldn't go amiss on the movement, but assuming it is an 8 series Miyota in there, that doesn't worry me too much. If you're looking at this cold, with no emotional attachment to Seiko whatsoever, I'd go with the Timex. It feels like a watch genuinely made for 2026, in that under $500 price range where the Seiko feels like it's been dragged into the modern age, still carrying a bit of old equipment with it. And honestly, Timex are shocking me with the quality and the sheer velocity of their releases recently. It's almost like watching a heritage brand operating at Chinese micro-brand speed when it comes to pumping out new models. It's a great thing to see a brand like Timex on the comeback trail, producing affordable watches that collectors like me actually want to own. I just hope they find the balance between quality and quantity before the wheels come off. As for Seiko, well, they seem to be able to sell just about any bloody watch to just about anyone out there, regardless of the spec sheet. And the SSK is a prime example of exactly how that works. One look at the thing and you absolutely want it. Even with its faults, that unique case design and styling just pull you in. It's a bit like dating a supermodel who has the occasional burp or fart. You're going to put up with it because frankly, it's just so good looking. So that's it for today, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come find me on Instagram too. Let me know in the comments which one you'd pick and why. And if you already own one of these watches, tell me which colorway you went for. And until next time, keep on ticking.